Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the first Shalika Marathon America's live Q&A. As we've done this before, so you probably know me. My name is Renata, and I'm here to host your Q&A session. We have a lot of special guests with us here today. You all know these familiar faces, but let me introduce you to our speakers today. So we're here with your familiar Anne Buchanan. She's your relationship manager and the face of the Facebook group. You all know her really well. And we're also here today with Adrian Juergens, who is the Shalika Marathon America's technical director, and also with Joe Redfield, who is our battery electric specialist and is going to help us with all the technical questions. So we're just going to give you a couple more minutes to dial in. I expect to receive a lot of questions today, so just wanted to ask everyone to submit their questions as we always do. Please, when you submit your questions, make sure you add your name, team name, and country that you're from, so we know exactly who we're talking to. And if your question is specific to your car, also add your category and fuel type. That means if you are running on a prototype or an urban concept, and then the energy type. So if you're running on gasoline, diesel, battery electric, first to know exactly how to address your question. So as I said, we're just going to give you a couple more minutes. As I mentioned to you just a few minutes ago, my name is Renata and I work here in the Shalika Marathon Global Team in London. We're here with Anne Buchanan, who is your face for all student communications questions and your relationship manager. Also, the Shalika Marathon America's technical director, Adrian Juergens, and our battery electric specialist, Joe Redfield. What we're going to do today is just follow what we do in all our live Q&As. So we are going to start the presentation today with some slides where the team is going to take you through some really important information you need to know ahead of the event in Detroit. So we're going to go through some slides. You're going to learn more about the 2016 event, registration, then some of the important technical changes for next year. Then we're going to open up for questions. And once we open up for the question and answer session, what I need you to do is to submit all your questions with your name, team name, and country that you're from. And then don't forget to mention your vehicle type. That means if you're a prototype or a concept, and then the fuel that you're running with. So we are getting some viewers now. The numbers are growing. Let's just wait a couple more minutes for more people to join. Then we'll start with the presentation. And I do talk too fast and a little bit too much, but don't worry, Anne's going to take over really soon. So you'll all be able to see it. Let me just go over how we're going to run this today, and you'll all be able to follow Anne's presentation. So this is how we're going to do, as we always do. And Adrian and Joe are going to take you through some slides to show you some important details about the event in Detroit and highlight some of the most important changes in the rules for next year. And then we're going to open up for questions and answers. And that's when we need you to submit all your questions with your name, team name, country that you're from. And then again, if your question is specific about your team and your vehicle, just please include your category and fuel type. So that means if you're running on urban concept gasoline or prototype battery electric. So just be quite specific and give us as much detail as you can so that we can address your question correctly. So now I think we're good. We should be able to have more people dialing in. I'm going to pass this to Anne. And as I mentioned, you all know Anne. And it's going to take you through some slides to give you more specific details about the event next year. And then we're going to take over again and open up for questions. So Anne, it's with you now.
Great. Thank you, Renata. And thank you everyone for joining the first live Q&A session today. We are going to have a quick introduction to Shalika Marathon to any of you who are new to the competition, we will review this year's competition in Detroit and then look at the registration process. And then Adrian Juergens, the technical manager, is going to review the changes in the 2016 rules and regulations. And we will open it up to a technical Q&A with Adrian and Joe Redfield as well, who can help with the battery electric questions. So just a quick introduction to what Shell Eco Marathon is. It's a competition for high school and university teams to build and test ultra energy efficient vehicles. It's a global program, so we do have events in the Americas, Europe, and Asia. And the goal is not to break speed records, but is to consume as little fuel as possible over a set distance. And here are the two main categories that you can enter into the competition. There's a couple of pictures that might help. The first one on the top right is an example of the prototype vehicle. That's a more streamlined vehicle that focuses on maximizing fuel efficiency, such as with innovative design elements such as drag reduction. And the pictures on the bottom right show a couple of examples of the urban concept category. And those are vehicles that look more like higher mileage cars seen on the roads today. And you can see which vehicle classes are allowed to compete in Shell Eco Marathon, and that's diesel, gasoline, ethanol, gas to liquid, compressed natural gas, hydrogen, or battery electric technologies. Here's a picture from this year's event in Detroit. We had 113 vehicles from all across the Americas. So we had teams from the United States, Canada, Guatemala, Brazil, and Mexico. And the winning vehicle achieved 3,421 miles per gallon of gasoline. Now we'll just take a quick look ahead at the 2016 competition. It will once again take place in Detroit, Michigan. The dates are April 20th through the 22nd, and the track will be once again on the city streets of downtown, right outside of the Cobo Center, where the paddock will be located. We will also have free camping once again inside of the Cobo Center, and we will provide showers and padding for the teams. We'll also have a group rate at some nearby hotels, and we'll be sure to share those details as soon as they become available. And just like last year, we will have 3 meals per day for free for up to 8 team members, and additional team members will be allowed to purchase meals on site. And we will once again offer travel stipends to each team, and this is per vehicle. You can see the dollar amounts on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, and that just calculates the dollar amount is based on your distance from your school to the Cobo Center in Detroit. And then we just wanted to touch on a few helpful reminders for next year. Some of you may remember the tours that we held at the Henry Ford and the Ford Rouge factory last year. We will be offering some similar tours this year, so if you would like to join that, please plan to arrive on Tuesday evening for the Wednesday tours, and those will take place on April 20th. We'll be sure to share more details once they become available. We also are selling tires and fuel tanks throughout the year. The tires are optional, the fuel tanks are required. If you would like to place an order, please send me an email, or you can email ecomarathonamerica@shell.com, and we can get that taken care of. Another announcement we would like to make, and for the teams to take note of, is that the paddock will be closed next year between midnight and 6 a.m., and that will be for safety reasons. The schedule of events, the tentative schedule of events, has been posted to shell.com, so please take a look at that. It's very top line for now, but just to give you an idea for what will be taking place and when. Registration will open on Wednesday. Friday will be a practice day, and that will be on the indoor track this year. Saturday and Sunday are competition days, and the award ceremony is Sunday evening. The paddock and campground will close at 9 a.m. on Monday. Also, please be aware that we can only accommodate 125 vehicles on site next year. So once the teams apply for Phase 1, we will notify the teams if they have been selected to move on to Phase 2 on November 25th. Now we'll just take a very quick look at the registration process. It's very similar to how it was this year. Phase 1 opened on August 24th. All of these deadlines, by the way, are posted on shell.com, so please be sure to take note of those and email ecomarathonamerica's@shell.com if you have any questions. You can complete the Phase 1 deadline by November 16th, and again, November 25th is the Phase 1 selection announcement. I won't read through all of these, but again, if you have questions, please let us know. One deadline I want to point out is the dropout deadline. We understand that teams often are unable to attend the competition for various reasons and challenges. We just ask that you please let us know by March 25th so that we can plan accordingly. Off-track awards are also a great opportunity to earn some additional prize money. That deadline is April 11th. And then we will have a couple of additional webcasts, so mark your calendar for January 13th and March 16th. Phase 1 is very similar to how it ran this year. We just ask each team to provide basic contact information. You will need to identify a team manager and faculty advisor, and then let us know what type of vehicle you plan to bring and what energy category you're using. We do ask teams to upload 2 photos or drawings of their vehicle, and we prefer a CAD drawing or something similar. And we'll just be looking at your vehicle body and frame and making sure it's in line with the rules and regulations. You're also asked to submit a signed school release from liability form that needs to be signed by a representative of your high school or university. It cannot be signed by a student. Sometimes those take a while to get through the legal department, so I would recommend starting that process sooner rather than later. And again, please contact us if you have any questions. Now I'm going to turn it over to Adrian Juergens, who's going to run through the key rule changes for 2016.
Thank you, Ann, and I too want to wish you all a welcome to this today's webcast, and thank you for participating. I can't emphasize enough about reading the rules. You may think that's not important, but trust me, it is. So let me encourage you as teams, make sure you read those rules and read them more than once, twice, and 3 times, and make sure you fully understand. If you have any doubts or any confusion to the rules, immediately get your question into the website so we can address it early, so you know how to handle your vehicle, or also for logistics or whatever. Don't wait to the last minute. So please read those rules and take advantage of those tech tips. The tech tips have been very successful for the teams in the past. They should continue to be successful. So take advantage of those tech tips. They're short, they're to the point, and they're very comprehensive in the information that they provide. Next slide, please. This year, we are no longer allowing solar. Solar has been removed as a propulsion energy. So as you can see in the slide there, it's battery electric only. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware of that for this 2016. Next slide, please. Also, please refer to this article 20B about the ballast. You'll see the pictures up there. We got to be getting away from multiple forms of ballast that teams are using. You can see some of the examples in the bottom, and these are not exaggerations. They are true. So we're asking teams to purchase the scuba diving weights or rectangular metal plates. The emphasis here is they must be able to be secure to the frame of the vehicle. They cannot lie loose. The scuba diving weights are very inexpensive. They can be picked up real easy on Amazon.com. Next slide, please. Hello.
Can you see it?
Okay, there it is. New for this year, for practice runs both on the test track and the competition track, only vehicles with safety stickers will be allowed on the track. So in order to get on the track, you have to have a minimum of the safety sticker. If you don't have it, even if you have the technical sticker, without the safety sticker, you will not be allowed on the track. Next slide, please. Helmets, and I want everybody to really pay attention to this because this is really a big change for us. The requirements are for full face or three-quarter helmets suitable for motorsports activities. A face shield or visor is mandatory, and the shield or visor must cover all of the face down to the chin. Tinted face shields or sunglasses under the face shield are permitted. And again, helmets must correctly fit the driver and be secured by the chin strap, and this will be checked. A reminder, the bicycle, riding, skating type helmets are not permitted, and goggles are no longer permitted. And on the next slide, I'll have some pictures for you. So if you can go to the next slide, please. And this is a quick reference here. It's pretty self-explanatory. The bottom two, that is what we will be looking for during the inspection, and these helmets will be inspected. So just FYI, this is going to be something that we're going to be looking and pushing hard for the teams. I don't mind teams sharing helmets, but if the helmet does not fit the driver, that will not pass. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Emergency shutdown. For CNG this year, the emergency shutdown must also cut off the flow of gas. In other words, not only must the emergency shutdown kill the engine, but it must also cut off the flow of gas. And you see there's a flow chart here. So make sure that when you are designing, the CNG teams, when you are designing this, that it must do both, okay? And that will be checked during the inspection process. Next slide, please. Seem to have some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
All right. Exhaust system. Exhaust pipes should exit the vehicle body, but it should not extend beyond the rear or the side of the vehicle. We've got some pictures there for easy reference, and so make sure you design carefully. If not, you're going to be cutting some pipes off during your time there instead of being on the track. So pay a close attention on this one, please. Next slide, please. Dead man switch. Again, please pay attention to this one. This always creates a lot of questions. People may not be familiar with the term dead man switch. Another term is what they call operator presence switch. And the design of this switch, if the driver becomes incapacitated, for example, faints, the automatically disengages the propulsion system. Okay. Switch off the engine, it switch off the ignition system if the engine is a wide open throttle. So let me go over it again so you make sure you understand that. If your engine is not a wide open throttle, you don't have to kill the engine. It's just that when the hand is released, the throttle must return to zero. In other words, the engine must be in an idle condition. However, we've got a few cars out there that operate on wide open throttle only, so in that situation, it must kill the switch. There again, that will be checked, okay? The dead man switch is allowed if it's located, electric switches are allowed if it's located on the steering wheel, and the driver must directly engage the switch at all times while driving. In other words, a thumb has to hold that switch down the entire time if it's an electric switch. So if the hand moves away, the engine returns to an idle position. And this is also not to be confused or replaced with a shutdown switch. The dead man switch and the shutdown switches are totally separate. Next slide, please. It's exciting.
There seems to be a delay, Adrian. Sorry.
I'll try. Dead man switch versus emergency shutdown. You can see the picture on your left. Some examples there that we're looking for. So it's a press and hold to maintain propulsion. The default is always toward off. When off, the engine is idled unless you have a wide open throttle operation. It must kill the engine. And you can use a foot pedal with a spring on it. That's acceptable as well, but it just depends. But whether or not the dead man switch passes is determined at the inspection time. Okay. If you have any questions on this, please send your emails in and we can help you out. On the emergency shutdown, you are to make sure that the engine is actually killed. In other words, the engine has to stop. The default is on. When off, kill the propulsion, engine off, and you can see the reset button. In other words, it has to latch. This button has to latch on the outside. So when you push it, it stays off, and in order to get it off, it's got to be manually turned to release it. Okay? Next slide, please. Driving and steering. During all practice competition driving at the Eco Marathon events, only one driver is allowed inside the urban concept vehicles, regardless of the fact that you may have double seats installed. Also, the steering must be achieved using a steering wheel or a section of a wheel with a diameter of not less than 25 centimeters. Pay attention to that one, okay? Next slide, please. Vehicle dimensions. This is this is targeting urban concept mostly, but none of the body dimensions above must be achieved by design singularity such as stuck-on appendages or cutouts. In other words, you can see from the drawing there, we are going to be looking at the body to determine the body dimension. So you cannot add fender wells and items such as that to be in compliance. So make sure you pay attention to that dimension when designing your vehicle. Next slide, please. Electrical systems. Battery tray. Lithium-based batteries must have a metal tray under the battery. This applies to all vehicles, not just battery electric. Let me repeat that. All vehicles, not just battery electric. So all lithium batteries have to have a metal tray. Isolation. Both positive and negative circuits of propulsion batteries. The supercapacitors must be electronically isolated from the vehicle frame. Now, we always get this question, what about radios and GPS, the small batteries? That is acceptable as long as the unit has a built-in batteries, such as GPS, data loggers, engine management units, and so on. So that, again, will be determined in inspection, but they are permitted. Next slide, please. Joule meters for all battery electric vehicles. The Joule meter, when installed, must be easily read and reset from the outside of the vehicle without removing any vehicle body components. You can see some of the picture examples there. There's several ways you can do this. You can have a window for reading the result, but you'll also need a small finger hole so we can reset the Joule meter. Okay, you can see that in the middle picture, or a hinge door for both of the above will work as well. Okay, so make sure you're designing your vehicle according to this. Next slide, please. Another CNG piece of information. This is kind of the same picture that you saw earlier, but we want to emphasize that only injectors are allowed for CNG vehicles. No carburetors and no vaporizers allowed. It's injectors only. Next slide, please. Also for CNG vehicles, the methane sensor in the energy compartment, you've got to have one. It will drive the emergency shutdown valve and relay, and the trip level must be 1% of methane in the air, and you can see the picture diagram there. So if there is a leak, and it must, the next slide will show where it needs to be mounted in the engine compartment. It must shut down not only the shutdown valve, but also the shutdown relay. So in other words, you've got to kill flow of gas and the engine. Next slide, please. Here you see that in the engine compartment, it needs to be mounted in the roof, and the switch has to be a manual reset. It cannot be an automatic. So bear in mind that if you're during the competition and the sensor goes off and kills it, you're dead in the water at that point, and so there's no chance for restarting. So make sure when you're designing your system and the tubing and piping and everything you're doing. And plus also, these vehicles will be checked for leaks by our hydrogen and CNG technical team members. Also, vehicles will be equipped with only approved pressure regulator and shutdown valve assemblies provided by the organizers. Okay, so in other words, I know during the off season you would probably use a system of your own to practice with your vehicle, which I recommend. However, once you are at the competition, the organizers will provide the new regulator assemblies that will, and the cylinders that will go in the vehicles. Next slide, please. The methane valve and relay must be activated by any of three scenarios: the sensor, the internal shutdown, and the external shutdown. And you can see that in this picture. Now, I know we're going through these rather rapidly, but we are working on getting these pictures available to the CNG team. So if you would like one, just send an email to the Shell Eco Marathon website, and we will work on getting some of these pictures to you to help you out. Next slide, please. Okay, wrapping up. Again, read the rules thoroughly. We cannot emphasize them not enough. Also, take advantage of those tech tips. They are there for you. It is not so we can look good to you guys. It is information. It is solid information, and I can tell you from the feedback that we have received from other teams, they are very helpful. And again, they're short and to the point, and they're easy to look at, and you can go back and look at them over and over and over. Also, for more information, if you don't have a copy of the rules, please go to the website. You see the web page, the website address there, and download those rules. And I really recommend as a team that you guys kind of get into a circle and just start reading the rules and make sure everybody fully understands. And I believe that wraps it up. I believe now we're And if we're going to Q&A now.
Yeah, I think there's one more about documentation.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, especially for the new teams, every team must provide a bound copy of documentation, and you can see, for example, and in the rules it'll show whether you're an ICE um, uh, type operation versus electric, like hydrogen or battery electric. That information, like the energy system drawings, propulsion system, electrical, hybrid, battery, we are looking for that technical data. It must be in a bound copy. We will not accept iPads or computers. It has to be in a bound copy that the technical team can go through. This bound copy not only helps us to understand the system, because sometimes the wiring there is not real clear in the vehicle, but it also helps us as a technical team diagnose issues if there seems to be some problems. So this is a very serious tool that we require from all teams. Please make sure you go over that section of the rules and regulations and clearly understand. Next slide, please. All right, we are now at Q&A. And so I will ask Renata if she has any questions that have been submitted.
Thank you both. I actually do. Several questions coming in. Thank you, everybody who shared their questions already. Again, and I think you can come back to sharing your, you can stop sharing your screen now, so then we can get back to seeing your face.
Okay.
Everybody's submitting questions, so thank you very much for whoever submitted their questions. Again, final reminder to the teams, we'll open up for questions now. We have about 20 minutes for you to submit your questions, and we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. Now, again, the request, whenever you submit your questions, please include your name, team name, country that you're from, and then just please include your category. That means if you're running on with a prototype or urban concept vehicle, and then include your energy type. So battery electric, gasoline, diesel, GTL, I don't know. Just include everything so that we can address your question specifically. And now we're going to open up with some of the technical questions. Thank you everyone who submitted their questions already. Let me select one who was actually the first question that we've received this time. Let me see. Too many questions coming in, I got lost. But then again, Adrian, I think you know about this one. We got this question from Adrian Barron, I think, and his question is regarding Article 68 for CNG vehicles. When can teams expect Shell to provide more information about the approved pressured cylinders, regulators, and shutdown valves? I think you addressed that slightly in your presentation.
Yeah, I did. I want to make sure I heard what you're saying. Are they asking about the cylinder in particular, or more than that?
The cylinders are mentioned, but a little bit more than that. So cylinders, regulations, and shutdown valves.
Okay, the cylinder regulation. Actually, in the rules, there is a description of the size. In other words, there's a spec description of the cylinder that will be provided to the teams during the competition. Now, these cylinders are available commercially. Now, we cannot sell them. They have to buy them from a supplier. They can buy their own. They will not be allowed to use their own tanks at the event, but they can buy their own. And like I said, the dimensions are there. And Renata, can you release it back to Ann? There's actually a couple slides I can show the teams what the cylinder looks like. If you could do that real quick.
Sure. Of course. And if you want to share your screen, I'll shoot this back to you.
Okay, sure.
Okay, go to the last slides. Well, they were there a minute ago. Is it working, Ann? Ann? Hello? Renata, we maybe have...
Yeah, I'm not sure if Anne can hear us, but we'll be sure to share this slide pack and have this available on the website so everybody can check. And
Right.
again, if anybody has specific questions, as always, they can share the question on the STM Americas Facebook group or just send an email directly to Anne, and I'm sure she'll be able to clarify. We just lost Anne, so she might be having issues with the connection, sorry, but that's not a problem. Let's just address another question.
Well, before you go on, I do want to say for the CNG teams, I am working on a summary presentation that we will try to make available to you that will hopefully be comprehensive enough to answer all your questions. So just send an email in to the Shell Eco Marathon website saying you might need some additional information, and we will work on getting that to you. Okay, next question, Renata.
Sure. Thanks, Adrian. Let me get here. The question was actually one of the first ones that we received, so here we go. My name is Ogenovo, I think, from University of Houston, Texas. My team and I will be working on 2 cars, one with hydrogen fuel cell and the other one with natural gas engine. My question is, and maybe Anne would be better placed to answer, but maybe you can. Since we have 2 vehicles, do we need to pay twice for registration? I don't think we need to pay to register for STM Americas, correct, Ian? Adrian?
Yeah, as far as I know, there's no cost. But they do have to register as a separate team.
Exactly. So what you might have to do is just read on the website again, so on Shell.com, on the For Americas Participants section, there are all the details about how to register your team and your vehicles. And if you still have any questions, as I said, just drop Anne a note and she'll be able to address. Again, Shell Eco Marathon does not charge for registration fees. Of course, your team will have to sponsor your travel and the trip to Detroit, but we do not charge registration fees. Okay, next question from Riley Shelby from Houston Emory Weiner School regarding Article 26. Simply clarifying a question. Will a total composite loading bearing, I think, monocoque body without any type of roll bar be permitted if it can withstand to be the required load?
Okay, can you repeat that question to me, please?
Of course. So Riley from Houston is asking about Article 26. Will a total composite load-bearing monocoque body without any type of roll bar be permitted if it can withstand the required load?
Without seeing the design of their monocoque, and I think I know what they're talking about. Yeah, I'd have to look at that, but the quick answer is yes.
Thank you. So Riley, what you can also do, as I mentioned before, why don't you submit the drawing to Anne? Just send her an email with the drawing, and then Adrian can potentially have a look for you and see if the answer is actually yes to your question. Now let's move on to a question from Pierce Jensen from the team Super Mileage System Enterprise from Michigan Tech. We are planning on competing with a prototype battery electric. We have several questions coming. So the first one, and maybe this one is better for Joe, is there better terrain data than the video that's available now about the track in Detroit, sorry?
You saying data about?
He is wondering about the terrain data. So I guess he's referring to the track
Is he talking about elevation? Well, I'm going to have to assume he's talking about elevation, slopes, and this, that, and the other. That information should be on the website. We actually had a video that they can actually go look, and we'll talk about turning radiuses, and there's also, it gives the elevations at various sections on the track.
Thanks, Adrian. Again, I will just follow up with another question from Pierce, and this is specifically about his vehicle. We have a hybrid robot which consists of tubes and panels. Our robot is constructed out of carbon fiber and withstands the tests required by SAE super mileage. Does this meet the Shalika Marathon requirements for robots?
That'll have to be determined during inspections, because I'm not that totally familiar with SAE's regulations for their program, but I'm going to have to say chances are, if it's done according to SAE, there's a good possibility. But there again, if the team can send a picture to the website, that will help out.
Yeah, so Pierce, you can submit your drawing, send it to Anne, and she can share that with Adrian, who can give you an answer. Now let's select a question. We will get back to you to your other questions later, but now let me select another question. And this one from Nathan from Rice University in Houston. And then he says, last year we were told that in 2016 our car will need to have a side opening door. Is this still the case? We couldn't find any rule regarding this in the rule book.
I'm assuming they're talking about urban concept. I didn't know if you mentioned that or not, but yes, it has to have a side opening door, like a car door. That's what we're looking for, yes.
Thanks, Adrian. And another question. So let me just get this one. So this question now is from Chris, and he's from Granite Bay High School in California. Are there any constraints in regards to the minimum curb weight with fluids? And the second question is, if the monocoque is load bearing, can it take place of an upper frame?
The first part of the question, there is no minimum weight. There's only a maximum weight for a vehicle. As far as load bearing, there again, without seeing the vehicle, it's going to be determined. The final determination is during inspections, but if it's designed right, it shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you, Adrian. Let's go to another one. And this one's from Law Watts from Brigham, I think, Young University in Utah. What is the octane rating for the gasoline-powered prototype cars?
It will be an A7 octane with E10. And it's Shell gasoline.
That was really specific, so I hope you took note of that. Let's go to another question. And this question is coming from really far away, so it's a bit special, especially to me because I'm also Brazilian. So here we go. Hi, my name is Yuri. Hello, Yuri, and I'm from Unifei in Brazil. I'd like to know a little more about the horn for the battery electric category. Are we allowed to use the accessory battery to power our horn? I think this is Article 57.
Joe, can you chime in here?
Yes, absolutely, and it's a great question. For the battery electric vehicles, there is just one battery available to be used on the battery electric vehicles. So that battery would need to be able to power the horn as well as provide the propulsion energy for the vehicle.
Thanks, Joe. Let us, again, I just want to pause for a second and say thank you so much for everybody who's submitting questions. I think this is the Q&A session that we had the largest number of questions, so thank you. We'll try our best to address them all. Let me try a different one now. Oh, and it's back.
Hi, sorry, we lost internet connection.
No problem. Okay, let me go now with a question from Gus from Indiana State University. We are planning on doing a gasoline prototype vehicle, and I'm wondering if it is required to have a muffler included in our exhaust system.
Yes.
And then the follow-up question within that is, or if there is any decibel level we need to stay under.
There is a decibel level. That is in the rules, believe it or not. It's quite explicit in there. It's based on distance. I believe it's 4 meters away from the vehicle, and you take a measurement with the engine at wide open throttle, and if it starts getting above 85 decibels, we got a problem. So I'm recommending teams use small mufflers.
Thanks, Adrian. Let me go again with a question from Nathan. And the question is, how is the driving compartment height measured? What if there is no way to measure the vertical distance from the driver's feet to the roof? Can we lower just the location of the driver's feet to meet the requirement?
Okay. The measurement will be based where the driver's foot is on the floor, a vertical measurement to the roof. Okay, that is what we're going to be measuring. Okay, so it's from where the feet are straight up. You cannot use an angle measurement to get that 88 centimeters. Okay, and just following up on that question before about the muffler noise, it's 90 decibels, 4 meters away.
Thanks, Adrian. Now let's go with a question from another country, actually, which is really good. So different countries adding in, which is always good. And now this question comes from Manuel from Tec de Monterrey in Mexico. I would like to ask about the dimensions for the prototype vehicle. In the rules, well, according to him, there are no specifications for ground clearance. Does that mean that there is no minimum value?
That is correct. However, I would recommend, because we are dealing with city streets, that they at least have a couple of inches. If not, they are going to scrape.
Thanks again, Adrian. And now again, let's jump to another country. I'm loving this hangout today. My name is Paulo Frias from Universidad del Azuay from Ecuador. And my question is, if we have a scheme for the first face inscription. I'm not really sure.
Is it scheme or schematics?
Well, he's asking if we have a scheme for the first face inscription. I'm not really sure what he means.
Okay, what I'm looking for in phase 1 is a design of their vehicle. Either if they're just in the design phase, they can submit a drawing. It would be nice if it was a type of CAD drawing outlining the frame of the vehicle, and so I can see what the cage is to protect the driver. So if I can look at all those would be extremely helpful, because I'm using those phase 1 pictures to decide who's going to the next phase.
Thanks, Adrian. Let me choose a different question now from a different team. Again, a lot of questions coming in, so thank you. Okay, so now the question from Luke from Minnesota, and I think they're running on a diesel urban concept car. Will gull wing doors be okay, or only standard side opening car doors or opening side doors?
Ask that again for me, Renata.
He's asking if gull wing doors will be okay, will be approved this year.
Gull-wing doors will be approved. Yeah, they are approved, but bear in mind that the gull-wings have to open high enough that the driver can get out of the vehicle. Okay? And when you open, yeah, in other words, when you open it up, it needs to sort of be supported in a way so it's not impeding the driver getting out of the vehicle in case of emergency. Also, I want to go back to the question before that. Are they asking about money? Is that a possibility for participation?
Oh yeah, the question we got from Houston. If they were the one that they asked if they need to pay for registration.
No, the one about the scheme. I just want to make sure.
Oh, I don't think so. I think maybe he was referring to his schematics, as you.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's good.
Yep. So now let's get another question from Pierce, and his question is actually relating to a better electric prototype. And his question is there any chance of purchasing a geometer which is similar or identical to the competition geometer, or a source where we can purchase one from?
Joe, I'll defer to you.
Yes, great question. So the geometers that are used during the Shell Eco Marathon are special built for the Shell Eco Marathon and are not available for purchase. However, there are a number of other aftermarket geometers that are used in the radio-controlled industry that will perform exactly the same as the Shell geometer that you can use during practice and development. And I would say if you sent a note to the website, we can respond with several potential options for that, or you can just simply do a search on geometer for radio-controlled aircraft, and you'll find a number of them that will meet your needs.
Thanks, Joe. We do have time only for a couple more questions. Again, it was a record today, so thank you everyone who submitted their questions. I'll address one now, again from Brazil, simply because I had a similar question earlier today. Maybe Anne and Adrian, you can answer this one. So they are thinking about registering two, again, sorry, this is Pedro from Unifei in Brazil. And their question is, we're thinking about registering two prototypes, one running on better electric and the other one on ethanol. Do we have to create two different logins to register the two cars?
Yes, and I can touch on that. You would need to create a separate profile for each of your vehicles, and each vehicle would need their own team manager, so you'll create a password and username for each car.
And I think that also addresses the question from Nathan. So Nathan, I do hope that that answers your question about registering your second team on a second profile. So I hope that answered your question. Now, let's see who we haven't really addressed. Okay, so this is quite a simple question, but could be quite long, the answer. So again, from Chris from Granite Bay High School, will there be differences in the tech inspection for prototype vehicles?
Differences?
Yep, I guess.
There's differences between the prototype and urban concept, yes. And
but the process from 2015 to 2016, there will be small differences based in the rules, correct?
Right, and we went over that in the beginning. So, and some of those rules did affect prototype, yes. So, again, this is a good opportunity. You need to really look at those rules, and the rule changes are highlighted. They are highlighted so you can see it and recognize it that it is new for 2016.
Thanks, Adrian. Okay, I'm gonna select two more questions, and I apologize if we didn't really have time to answer all the questions, but we can have the answers available on shell.com as well, so don't worry. one again from Pearson that refers to battery electric prototype. So I don't know, maybe Joe, you could answer this one. Is there a list of event sponsors or direct competitors that we could use, that we could see, sorry, to avoid consequences listed on Article 4D? So he clearly read the rules, but I'm not really sure if you remember what Article 4D states.
Yeah, I'm afraid I don't recognize that either. I would say if you could send a note in to the website with some specific things that you were concerned about, then we'll be happy to dig in and answer that.
I can help out a little bit, Renata. It deals with the sponsor names, and it actually deals with the size, and so sponsor names cannot be larger than the Shell logo, and also they cannot be in competitors cannot be listed. Oil company competitors, energy company competitors. Also, tobacco and alcohol sponsor stickers are not permitted. So that's a key one there. So if they look at that rule, Section D really focuses on the size as opposed to the Shell logo.
Thanks, Adrian. And we do have time, as I said, one more question. So let me just try to see somebody who we haven't really answered. And we're going to address this one simply because it's a different car. So, well, this one from Unify, and he wants to know a little more about the metal tray that will be placed under the batteries. So, Joe, maybe this one is for you. Does it have to be made of any specific material? And if so, can we put some other material under the metal tray?
So, great question. There is no specific requirement of the metal tray, but what the metal tray does need to do, the metal tray needs to be able to contain the lithium battery that's it's holding in the event of a battery event. So the metal tray needs to be strong enough such that it won't burn through. In terms of what could be placed under the metal tray, there's no limitations of what's in it, around it. The battery just needs to rest on the metal tray in the vehicle to prevent the battery from falling through the vehicle body in the event of a unexpected battery energy release.
Thank you. Okay, so one more question, and this will actually is more for Anne, and this is getting teams a little bit confused. So Madison from Woolley from Ruston, I think Ruston, sorry, high school. She is asking, we have two teams with two separate accounts, yet we are changing our team names. Do we need to register completely new teams to change our names, or is it still changeable in phase one?
I believe that you will actually need to register a new team with a new profile because you're unable to edit your team name from the previous year. So you just start fresh and re-register a new profile. You should be able to choose the team name that you wish.
And on top of that, if they could also notify the Eco Marathon website that they've made the change, so we can make sure that we can kind of, for our purposes, we don't get it confused as being separate teams.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly. But we did run out of time, and we still have some more questions to be answered. Unfortunately, as I said, we ran out of time. This time we had loads of questions being submitted, so thank you everyone who submitted their questions. So now we're just going to open up for everyone to give them or to share their last words. Again, thanks everyone who submitted their questions. Now let's open up the stage. Adrian?
Yes, again, I want to emphasize, read the rules, guys. Read those rules, teams. It's very, very critical. Read them as a team, ask each other questions. Also, take advantage of those technical tips and don't hesitate to get your questions into the Shell Eco Marathon website. We do our best to get you answered as soon as we can. So thanks for your participation today.
Thank you. Anne?
Thank you all for registering for Phase 1, and please, as I mentioned, send me an email or ecomarathonamerica's@shell.com if you need any help with the registration process. I'm here year-round to help the teams, and I just wanted to clarify the dates. So sorry, there was a small typo. 20th through the 24th of April, just to clarify that. So we look forward to seeing you guys in Detroit, and I look forward to working with you.
Yes, and just a final reminder regarding dates or deadlines. They're all posted on shell.com, and the website is super up to date. So if you have any doubts, just go there and double check. I'm pretty sure you won't have any issues. Joe, any final words?
Read the rules, and we look forward to seeing you in Tech Inspection.
That was quick, but straight to the point. I'm going to be slightly longer than this. Again, as everybody mentioned, read the rules. Chapter 1 has been available on shell.com since July 1st. So there is really no excuse to arrive in Detroit saying or telling us that you haven't read the rules. Tech tips, they're all available on YouTube. I think now there are about 13 videos with 4 new videos that were uploaded this year. As Adrian mentioned, they are short, easy to follow, and of course they feature our incredible tech team, so there's not really that better that you can get. What else? Join the Shell Eco Marathon America's Facebook group. You can share your question then. When you share your question and we share the answers, you might be helping someone else that actually has the same question. Follow us on Twitter. Everything you do, just use the hashtag SM2016, and I think we're good to go. Don't forget to submit your Phase 1 registration. And when is the deadline again? December or November?
It is November, and let me just double check it to make sure I don't tell you the wrong thing. The Phase 1 deadline is November 16th. November 25th is the selection announcement, and Phase 2 opens on November 25th as well.
Okay, great. So, well, what are we? September. So teams, you literally have 2 months to get everything together and submit your registration for Phase 1. So just get work done, and we hope to see you all in Detroit. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm going to go now because it's about 11 p.m. for me here in London. So we'll see you all next time.
Thank you, Renata.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.